about this evening. We were excited before we knew that we were going to have the model of the city, but that has only added to our anticipation of all that this project that we're launching this evening has in store for us. So thank you so much for coming. Particular thank you to those who have come to contribute in various ways. We'll introduce each of them in turn, each of you in turn. Just a couple of introductions. I'm David. It's my absolute joy to be the vicar here, and just 10 minutes walk up Tyndall's Park Road, also vicar of Cotton Parish Church. Two churches that share a very strong commitment to inclusion and engaging seriously with the perilous state that we find ourselves in. But responding to that, responding to that with creativity, courage, and even a little playfulness. So thank you for coming at the moment of the great inception of speech and all that we hope is going to flow from it. Introduce my co-conspirators. Paul is a member of the community here, long-time professional working in city infrastructure projects, both in the UK and further afield, and is amongst us really continually as something of a provocateur, I think, helping to stretch our imaginations about what might be possible as a parish church. And when Paul and myself and Adrian, who's sitting at the back, one of my clergy colleagues here, and also an environmental historian in the university, got together to think about what that more might look like. It was speech that emerged. So speech is, the grand vision is really to use this place at the heart of a parish that happens to contain other interesting institutions, the RWA, thank you Helen for being here, Royal West of England Academy, Bristol University, or not all of it, but the faculty and administrative heart of Bristol University, and it's so good, Paul, to have you here representing the Cabot Institute. And others, local businesses, a lot of flats dwelt in by private renters, often for short periods of time, and not all the time living in the best bits of the city's built environment. Hard to heat, often over-expensive because of the part of the city that they're situated in. So all sorts of realities going on here, some of which are great and life-giving, others of which are challenging. A degree of social isolation locally. And also we know some of the statistics of mental health crises that many Bristol University students are struggling with. Sometimes the figures are quoted as 25% of Bristol Uni students have some kind of declared mental health situation that they're dealing with on a daily basis. And across all the political wards in Bristol, Serena, it's great to have one of our local councillors, and apologies from Serena's colleague George, who's at a grand iftar, also very locally this evening. Across all the political wards, staggeringly, ours has the lowest rate of local volunteering in the city. Not what you'd expect, but it's something that we think we've perhaps got a role encouraging and inspiring a little bit, not least through this project. So we're excited about what speech might lead us into, and we're excited about this evening. Paul, Adrian, have I missed any important elements in terms of the introductions? No. Yes, the model cityscape. Well, Paul, come up quickly and tell us about it. As Paul's coming up, just to tell you the running order. So we're going to start with Helen from the RWA, because Helen can't stay for long. And then Paul from the Cabot Institute is going to speak. Then Serene's going to introduce herself and things from a council perspective. And then I've said that he's our headline act for tonight, Bishop Andrew, who's a friend from a long time in another life back, but Andrew's now Bishop of Ramsbury in the Diocese of Salisbury and chairs the Church of England's Church Buildings Commission. And Andrew writes and sings about the parish, about the importance of place. And he's not only going to be speaking to us, but he's going to be singing for us this evening. Andrew, it's a delight, just an absolute delight to welcome you. Paul. And then later on, Adrian is going to introduce Hannah, who's here for a year as part of an environmental humanities programme of study, and has pitched herself in with us, is going to be speaking about what it's like to live here as a student. So all sorts of exciting things. There's going to be lots of time for engaging with each other. Both the roving microphone is going to rove a bit later on, and then we hope you'll mingle at the end. We've got wine and juice and cheese and bread, and the model and the map and all of it. Paul?
Well, this is new in our lives, this model, and I happened to be at Watershed and was encouraged to make one of the houses at Watershed one evening, and didn't quite know what was happening to me, and a piece of A4 paper had a sort of shape of a house, and like an old-fashioned model thing. I had to use a scalpel and cut it out and glue it together with Pritt stick. And I didn't quite know why I was doing this, apart from I've been told to do it. So I said to the person doing it, why am I doing this? And they said, oh, well, we've got a grant from the Arts Council to make a map of Bristol, and we've worked with an architect and found that there are 30 different building types in Bristol for homes, 30 different generically. And we're looking at resilience of property in the environment, and we've got 2 days to showcase this at MShed, which was this last weekend. And then I said, oh, what's going to happen to it after that? She said, I know, it's terrible. We haven't got a plan, and it'll go in the bin. So I said, oh, 3 days later, we're launching this arty thing that is ill-defined and community-ish. Could we have it? And she said, with absolute pleasure, you can have my model of Bristol. And literally hundreds of people have been involved in making each little mini building from different community groups all over the city. And we are now the proud owners, stewards, and responsible people who need to think about what on earth we're going to do with this next. And sorry for everybody, but I thought it would be fun. And here it is. It's great, isn't it? That's our model.
So, Helen, it's been really good to meet with you, and we're looking forward to exploring what collaboration between speech and the RWA, and particularly your education and outreach team. So thank you so much for squeezing us in tonight, and welcome.
Can I call? Yeah. Okay. By the way, if you wonder what I'm sneaking off to, for the Light Festival, the RWA Gallery has fairies lit up in bell jars at the gallery, and hordes of visitors are coming in, so that's what I'm going to dash off to. Thank you for having me. So first of all, just to say hello, I'm Helen, and I'm Head of Learning and Engagement at the RWA Art Gallery, 5-minute walk from here. These lovely folk came to have a chat to us to find out a bit about some of the community work that we do. I think not knowing at that point that we love collaborating, and so quite quickly in our initial meeting, there was a sort of meeting of minds, and we all understood that things are better when we all bring what we've got together. So just to let you know a little bit about what we do at the Art Gallery, we work with member artists who are called academicians, and they include high-profile artists like Valda Jackson, who's in Bristol, and Beth Carter, and Adelaide Demoa, and Kurt Jackson, and Peter Randall Page, and big names like that. And also other people who are living and working and exhibiting their work and have a lot to contribute to the life of the gallery. And many of them, if we ask, will do things for us. So I'm just sneaking that one in there. We work with Bristol artists who specialise in facilitation and make it a real point of the way we work to have care at the heart of what we do, and where possible always using art as the means for expression, but also to give hope and to inspire people. And some of our artists who we work with are young, just emerging artists. Some are brilliant facilitators who can hold space so carefully and draw out of people creative things that they don't even know they can do or say or draw or make, or they don't even know maybe they think certain things until they're involved in a process. So we do believe in art as a well-being aid, as a tool, and that everybody can make art and that everybody has something in them that's creative. A lot of people, sadly, will have been either told at some stage that that doesn't really look like the thing you're trying to copy, so therefore you're not very good. Or they make a comparison somewhere along the line, probably in early childhood, and then think, it's not for me, I can't do it. But my whole creative career so far, I've been carefully showing people that they can. Well, not even showing them that they can, but basically supporting them so that they can discover that for themselves, really. We do work with underrepresented artists where we can. So whenever we've got a new project that we've got the funding for and we can recruit a new artist to our team, we do that. We also have tutors who work in our drawing school, and we have visiting artists for special exhibitions and events. And if it helps to know, we do a lot of quiet work. So it's a bit weird to stand up here and now make that slightly less quiet. But the quiet work is that work that goes on, which is the reason why when someone comes to meet you and says, I've had this idea that maybe we could collaborate, and then looks a bit shocked when you say, collaborate? That's what we do? So the quiet work goes on, and it's genuine and meaningful because it's quiet, isn't it? So that's the stuff that you don't have marketing and you don't have posters and social media about it. You're just quietly doing it. The example of this is our work at City Academy that people don't know we do. We don't do it all the time, but we've got some art workshops happening led by an artist who has Roma heritage herself, and she's leading workshops for Roma young people who are at City Academy. That's just a teeny example of the work that we don't really talk about because we don't need to. We're doing it, right? And so I know I'm among friends here because that kind of thing really matters, doesn't it? I don't know how long I have, so I'm not quite sure what else to say, but I've got a long list of our core work and who we work with. We've championed artists before and seen them go from not relative obscurity, but go from maybe having had relatively few opportunities to maybe something that's changed the course of their artistic career. For example, young artist Lucy J. Turner worked with us on a billboard commission, in case this gets people excited about the big things on walls, maybe to make a certain place look a little bit more appealing. And those billboards are there to really stop people in their tracks. That's the point. It's meant to arrest and maybe convict or inspire or draw attention to and make people stop and think in some kind of way. Not to feel intimidated, not to feel bad about yourself, maybe to feel challenged, but mainly to feel inspired. So that is another thing that at the gallery we love to do when we've got opportunity. And so I would love to chat to you more at some stage, but just to let you know that the RWA is excited about the prospect of the project and where it might go. We don't know, do we?
No.
But we're just here to say that we love to work with artists, and we think that art is a great way to come together, but also to inspire and inform, and a little bit like libraries quietly do it. You're not educating in a really heavy way. You're somewhere that very often people come to for a little rest and to look at something that inspires them. Is that enough?
That's
I've
great.
got a little bit more, but I don't want to keep going on.
Well, Helen, thank you so much, and we'll look forward to the more and to all that will unfold. I mean, it's so stimulated by your thinking that we're essentially all artists. Paul, our patron, our slightly troubling patron at times, in one of his really purple passages, talks about us all as God's work of art, and the way in which, you know, we're invited to participate in that ongoing outpouring of creativity, I think is really exciting. And all that you said about community being what we need right now. So we're delighted that there's going to be that ongoing collaboration. Thank you for being here. And Paul, thank you for coming and representing the Cabot Institute. I'll allow you to tell us what the Cabot Institute is and how this project might relate to the work that's going on there.
Hello everyone, my name is Paul Merchant. I know quite a lot of you already. I'm an admittedly slightly sporadic member of the congregation here, so it's really lovely to be here. But I'm also a member of staff and a colleague of Adrian's at the University of Bristol. I'm actually based in the School of Modern Languages, but a lot of my research actually has to do with art and the environment and how art can help us think differently about the environment. So I just wanted to say a few words to tell you a little bit about environmental research at the university, including at the Cabot Institute for the Environment that David has just mentioned, and to issue an invitation really for you as members of this parish to think about how you, as this project develops, might wish to collaborate with researchers at the university. And in Adrian, you've got a direct line there as well. So there are a couple of groups at the university that I want to talk about that are really important for the way that we think about environmental research. The Cabot Institute, which is sort of the big one, if you like. The Cabot Institute for the Environment is a university-level institute that brings together researchers and students from all different disciplines, so everything from glaciologists to historians to philosophers to sociologists who are interested in the environment, its history, its future, its challenges. And they have particular focus on challenges like food security, water, low carbon energy, city futures, something that's close to our hearts here, environmental change and natural hazards and disaster risk. And there's a really strong emphasis on interdisciplinary research, so scholars not just working within their narrow field, but seeing what conversations with others who have different areas of interest, different ways of working, can bring to those to scholarship. And there's also a very strong emphasis on community. So part of the Cabot Institute's mission is to create a community where all feel welcome and supported to understand and deliver new solutions to environmental challenges. And this community is going to be a word I'm going to say quite a few times in the next couple of minutes, is a community of researchers within the university, but it really extends beyond the university as well. So many researchers in the Cabot Institute and elsewhere in the university work with small-scale community organisations here in Bristol, across the UK and across the world in trying to co-create responses and solutions to environmental challenges that we currently face. And Cabot has also had a really strong history in commissioning works of art and being involved in the creation of art that can help us think differently about our relations to the environment. Art that can, as Helen was just saying, kind of stop us in our tracks or get us out of those well-worn, rutted tracks of thinking. And on this question of what art can do, I just want to tell you briefly about another grouping of environmental researchers at the University of Bristol. And this is the Centre for Environmental Humanities. It's something that I co-direct and Adrian used to until just last year as well. So we're a group of scholars working on the same environmental issues from humanities perspectives, so historians, scholars of literature, of art and visual culture, of philosophy. And we think that this is an important perspective because the environmental issues, and I think we all know this instinctively really, the environmental issues that face our global community are really matters of human behaviour, beliefs, values and structures. And so understanding human-environment interactions, past, present and future, are really essential. As one of our students put it a couple of years ago, in a sense this is no longer, if we think about the climate crisis, it's no longer a scientific problem, right? We know the science, it's a cultural problem, it's a humanities problem. So we host lectures and seminars, we work as a community of researchers, but we also, like the Cabot Institute, we work with community organisations across Bristol and beyond to take what can often be quite big, scary, abstract, confusing phenomena or ideas and think about how they are meaningful, how in people's everyday lives, how they manifest in those sort of concrete terms. And Andrew and I were talking just before we started about how paradoxically that really hyper-local focus can help us make connections across really big geographical and cultural divides. So I will repeat my invitation to think about ways in which we, as a community of researchers and students at the University of Bristol, can work with you, can support this fantastic project. Because this question of building community and actually thinking critically about what a community is really at the heart of the way that environmental research is done at the University of Bristol. So we think about communities of researchers, but also communities of neighbours, and crucially, I think, for why we're here this evening, an idea of community that goes beyond the human, right? So a community between us as human beings and plants, animals, nature, we might call it. And this is where the parish comes in, I think, because the parish is that local model of a community that goes beyond the human, right? It's a community with God and with God's creation. And so I think there's an opportunity here to think, as Jesus offered that his really radical response, his expansive response to the question of who is my neighbour. That's something that I think this eco-art project can do. Parish life and art can help us think in a really expansive way when trying to answer that question, who is my neighbour? Thanks very much.
Sense our momentum building by the moment. Paul, thank you so much. Thank you for making all of those connections for us and the opportunities to work with all those who are embedded in the wider Cabot community and bringing some of that to our hyperlocal here. It's very exciting. Serena, I'm so glad that we managed to catch up with each other earlier this week. That felt against the run of things, almost a little bit of serendipity. So thank you. Fairly short notice for being here, and thank you for all the enthusiasm. So, Councillor Serena, one of our local Green councillors, do come and introduce yourself.
So, I must admit, David's put me on the spot slightly here because it was a bit last minute. So, but I'm really proud to see this project in our ward. I think it's fantastic. It's all the things that I'm personally very passionate about. So my background is planning. I'm passionate about built heritage and green issues as well. I am green, don't want to get too political. So I'm immensely proud to see this and to meet Helen as well from the RWA. It's fantastic. And for it all to come together, all these connections between us, which I think is going to be very, very strong. In terms of greens and the projects that we could bring, I think that to have that connection outside this space, just on that level with the municipal recycling centre, what we can do to improve the appearance of that, to make it possibly less hostile, more attractive as an art project would be really positive. And we've just been exploring early ideas for funding streams, but that's very early days. But we'd definitely like to work with you to make that something. I mean, our recycling rates are going up in the city, which is great. We've got very ambitious targets, but that's going to, at a very local level, will really help. On a city-wide level, we should be very proud. We were the first city council, I think the first council in the country, even maybe Europe, to declare a climate emergency. So we've been really at the forefront of this stuff. And I think Bristol is a fantastic city for climate action, eco-awareness, from the academic that Paul's been speaking about to all the grass level stuff. I can see some friends, Ailsa, Sue from Prissy Climate Action here. It's fantastic to see that as well. So yeah, I'm really pleased that this is taking off. I think this is a very interesting model as well. And as I say, I've put on the spot, not being very articulate, but would love to get involved and to help out. And it's nice to see so many people.
Serena, thank you, and thank you for being willing to be put on the spot, and thanks for all the work that we've already been doing together since you were elected, and we're looking forward to all that partnership's going to continue to offer. We hope to the good people and more than just the people of this parish. Andrew, welcome. Welcome to the Diocese of Bristol. Welcome to St Paul's. We're so pleased that you're here. I've shared with the community here some of the ways that I've continued to be stimulated by your thinking about the parish. That seems to me to be highly creative, but with a kind of a long heritage as well. This isn't something new, but it's something that, with so much, we're in danger of losing. So thank you for bringing us back to what is, our proper calling as the Church of England, and we're excited about what you've got to say to us and sing to us.
Good evening, hello, how nice to see you. What a fabulous confluence of currents of interesting stuff and world-changing stuff you're doing here. It's so encouraging. Whatever else it is, a parish is a work of imagination. Any kind of place is a work of imagination in answer to the question, where do I think I am? Or where do I think we're going? It has to be thought out first, pictured somehow. When vicar of Gypsy Hill in southeast London, about 20 years ago, in the neighbouring parish to David, I became mildly obsessed by one of the lost tributaries of the River Thames called the Ephra, an ancient word meaning torrent. And it's, there are all sorts of lost rivers of the tributaries of the Thames, as you probably know. There's the Fleet and the Westbourne and all kinds of, the Quaggy is one of them. There are all sorts. And But the Ephra, I learnt, rose just yards from my church, my home. And it could be heard gurgling and rushing from certain roadside drains, to which I would bend my ear when traffic wasn't too heavy. And it flowed from there, up Norwood, Crystal Palace, underneath West Norwood Cemetery, underneath Brixton and Stockwell, out into the Thames at Vauxhall, just by the MI6 building, River House. And you can overlook the foreshore of the Thames and see where it comes out. And it says River Ephra storm drain. But if you do that, particularly if you're wearing a dog collar, you'll see all the security cameras suddenly converge upon you. Legend has it that Sir Francis Drake was visited by Queen Elizabeth I, who rowed up the Ephra. I doubt she did it herself. Was rowed up the River Ephra to see him when he lived in Brixton. Practical Victorians had culverted the river with brickwork into the new sewer system, from which it welled up at times of heavy rainfall. It flooded cellars and gardens, making its presence felt. The unpredictable life of this hidden river became for me an inspiring image of place as it was and as it might be. An inspiring image also of local ministry as a parish priest, illustrating how there were structures and seasons and established routes for things, but also, at the same time, an unpredictable current that might burst through and occasionally cause havoc with all of this and rewrite it. Like many allusions to water in the Bible, the River Ephra became for me an image both of eternal life and of uncontrollable nature. Like the Holy Spirit, you can't keep a good river down. And so I'm going to sing for you now a song about the River Ephra. I'm fully aware, by way of disclaimer, friends, that the image of a cleric, let alone a senior cleric, with a guitar slung around their neck is one of those chilling sights known to humanity. But I've got over that, so I encourage you to do so as well. So, the story goes, and I was told this waiting for a funeral cortege to arrive at West Norwood Cemetery, again about 20 years ago. The attendant at the cemetery told me the tale of how in Victorian times 2 coffins were found floating in the River Thames. And one they were brought back to the foreshore, and from the brass plaque on the top of the coffin, one of them was found to have come from West Norwood Cemetery, one of the great Victorian cemeteries of London. Mrs. Beeton is there, Tate of the Gallery and Sugar Lump fame is there, W.G. Grace, I think, is there. Anyway, all sorts of people are in it. And they brought the coffin back, located the grave, the plot, but found it undisturbed. And they concluded that the grave had been dug too close to the course of the River Ephra and had subsided into it and had bumped and glided underneath South London out into the Thames at Vauxhall. And I thought this was an extraordinary thing, that you could be buried in West Norwood and end up in the North Sea. And just this mind-blowing image. Anyway, I wrote a song about it. I'm going to sing it for you now. It's called Down in the Ephra. West Norwood Cemetery, in tearful symmetry, mourners assembled in woe. A conjuring trick or a London particular, only the residents know. Over 150 weighed down with grief, sank through the soil to the oily deep path of the river that runs underneath. Come to the sea, down in the Afra with me. Oh, I know, as reasons go, we've got the best one. It's so Victorian, such a good story, and somehow implausibly true. For in the bends and the banks of the Thames they recovered your coffin and you. Found that before you had come from West Norwood and borne by the Evra uplifted, a road unimpeded by boulder or reed underground, for some 3 miles you drifted. Come to the sea, down in the Afra with me. Oh, I know, as reasons go, we've got the best one. Glide in the stream, far from the halogen gleam, there she'll flow. Lie down low, her bed to rest on. We know so little of your non-committal, assume they exhumed you with care. But follow the stream down to SE19 and we find no memorial there. Dozens of rivers lost under the capital, buried by our demographic. Tributary, we pay tribute to thee, who will one day arise through the traffic. Come to the sea, down in the Evra with me. Oh, I know, as reasons go, we've got the best one. Glide in the stream, far from the halogen gleam, there she'll flow. Lie down low, her bed to rest on. Her bed to rest on. We've got the best one. We've got the best one. Thank you. Thank you very much. I've always sung about the places I've served and worked, not just for fun, but as a kind of imaginative counterpoint to the practical pastoral work I was engaged in. I think it's vital. That's why when David invited me along this evening, I immediately said yes, because I've always felt so strongly that landscape and community and faith and art belong together. In fact, if they're not together, each of them is somehow lacking, I think. I'm sorry to sing a song about London and not Bristol. I have got one song about a village just outside Bristol, but I hope you can translate the idea of imagining your own landscape here. So I sing about the river, really, because this hidden river, this intuitive, affective engagement with the river led to some really transformative ideas and practices in my parish work. For one thing, it taught me that things planted near rivers, like churches and neighbourhoods, bear fruit in due season. They have times of growth, of flourishing, of falling, of fallow sometimes, and of death. And we mustn't fight against that natural cycle in anything that's alive. Sometimes the way that people keen on church growth talk about the life of the church is a bit like forcing strawberries in winter. We must have growth. It's like the same in the economy, isn't it? The prevailing economic philosophy is we must have growth. We must have. That's not life. It's not organic. It's not ecological. Life doesn't work like that. Life has a cycle. But alongside that natural cycle, I think we see it, and I think we see it often in imagination and in the life of the soul, another disruptive current signified for me by the church's calendar overlaid over the natural one. So don't worry if you're not involved in the church, but if you are, you'll know that there's a kind of a church's year and there's a natural year of, the usual seasons and months in the natural year. But the church has got this sort of slightly skewed calendar alongside the other one, so that the year begins in Advent in December. It's just a month behind. So imagine, one of those sports watches. It's turned round so that it's a slightly kinked calendar. And it takes us on a kind of supernatural or different kind of cycle, different kind of narrative cycle. And Easter, where Easter isn't the same thing as spring. I know that churches love to talk about the equation between Easter and spring and new life and eggs and all of that. And there is consonance, but there's also it's a different calendar overlaid over the natural one, which, whatever else it does, I think promises or inspires us or arrests us with the idea that there can be surprising new life even in the midst of death, in a way that doesn't just follow the natural cycle, whether or not the season seems right, in other words. So we will perhaps each have known in both communally, artistically, or in our personal lives, that death can interrupt when we least expect it, but also new life can interrupt the expected progression of things. And the Lost River kind of was a symbol of that for me, that things can come surging up when we least expect it. They can decline really quickly, and they can also overwhelm us in beautiful ways. Unexpected sunshine. Secondly, the Lost River reinforced for me how physical and human geography go together. My background before theology was in history and geography. Many of us, if we were at school, like I was at secondary school in the 1980s, and before we were taught that physical and human geography existed almost like separate tracks. You had human geography, rubber plantation in Nigeria, or the industrialization of the Ruhr, or how towns form. And then you had, on the other track, you had physical geography, you had oxbow lakes and limestone scenery and all of the longshore drifts, all of those lovely things. But of course there's only one geography really, which is the interaction of all created things. It's an ecology really, geography. It's the way in which people affect landscape affects people, and so on. And I began to be fascinated in urban areas about the fields beneath the urban area, and we started up Crystal Palace Transition Town about 15 years ago. You'll probably be aware of that movement. And as a way of trying to reconnect with the urban landscape beneath the concrete carapace, not to do away with the concrete, but to see how the two worked with integrity. The fields beneath the Bristol streetscape need not be rural nostalgia, but future inspiration, fueling our awareness that personal or social health and growth go hand in hand with the growth of the soil from which we're made. One of the good things about the Transition Town movement was that it saw social resilience and ecological resilience is essentially the same thing. You can't have one without the other. Thirdly, the Lost River taught me the significance of mapping. Wonderful maps before us. At the time, I was also engaged in doctoral research about the English parish system, and it fascinated me to discover that just as the C of E had begun to be disenchanted with the parish system, that local historians and the ecological movement had rediscovered it and thought it was the best thing around, a model of local community that could be little without being narrow. I think this is important. We need visions of community that are little without being narrow and defensive. Our idea, if I say the word parochial to you, well, I mean, what do you think? Closed mind, drawbridge up, introspective, defensive. Parochial is a kind of negative word in the way we talk about ourselves. It's often applied to our view of the country, slightly insular perhaps. But of course the origin of the word in Greco-Roman politics is a community of non-belongers. The original parishioners, paroikos, were those who lived beyond the household, the local stranger, the asylum seeker, the refugee, the non-citizen of the empire, the one who lived just outside the boundary. And like it did with other forms of public language, the early church took that and gave it a twist and said, well, we're a bit like that. We kind of belong and we kind of don't belong. We've got these two calendars. We're here and we're there. we're kind of got, we may be nuts, but we think we've got one foot in heaven and we've got one foot on earth, and we're sort of in two places at once. That's a bit like us. We're the parochia. We are the parish. We are the community of non-belongers. And I think that is an inspiring vision for our country, for our community. Now, how can we shape community? How can you are doing it? Imagine small-scale communities that are open. Love that. It's vital, urgent work. I went off-piste, I got on my hobby horse. Let me remember where I'm meant to be. I can't speak for too long. So just a very little bit about the why parish is inspiring, I think, potentially for you and generative for you. Well, it's not only the seed from which English local government grew was responsible until really almost living memory. I mean, in my late mother's lifetime, in the early 1930s, she remembered the last workhouse closing in her village. The workhouse was the last point of not a glorious one, of the parish responsible for all local welfare. And if you look at ancient parish minutes books, maybe you've got one here, I had one in my last parish, but if you look back to the 19th century, its annual meetings dealt with things like drainage in fields. Okay, this is where it connects with the landscape. Drainage in fields, the condition of roads, the appointment of local constables, all of this was dealt with by a meeting which is still held once a year. You'll be having it in a few weeks' time, the annual vestry meeting. This is the seed, as I say, from which English local government and the city corporations grew. And local history has rediscovered in the last 30 years the importance of the parish in the way in which it shaped the kinds of places that we've ended up with. For around 1,000 years, until the advent of modern mapping, the parish boundary was something performed, not inked out on a page. It was something walked and paced out and negotiated through the act of beating the parish bounds. For far longer than we have had maps, this is the way in which most people knew whether they belonged or not. And if we had time, I could tell you about how 5 London boroughs take their boundary from one such walk in the 1560s, where there was a scuffle between different parish groups. It's beautiful. We know about it because the land on one side was owned by the Queen and on the other by the Archbishop of Canterbury. Couldn't make it up. And so it's all written down of how one parish thought that the boundary should go 200 yards away, and they kind of worked it out and then sang a hymn or something. The way in which where we place the lines and the kinds of lines we place on maps are actually, they determine all kinds of things. And because of that one walk in South East London, you know, to confusion of dust carts and where you can be married, where you can go to school, all of that shapes the community right down to the present day. And so think about it, these aren't incidental. Where you have lines on a map, they often follow ancient landscape features. A lot of our parish boundaries are surprisingly old, and they can be thought out a different way. They can be reimagined, to use that overused word. The landscape was an essential part of the beating of the bounds, of working out where you were. This gospel oak, that hedgerow, that rock, these, and literally they were beaten with sticks to remember how that we were connected to where we lived. And as a kind of aid memoir, as you probably know, in the children would be also whacked if you weren't careful, as a literally to be dinged into you where you were. There was a downside to it as well. But in terms of seeing the human community is in harmony or in concert with the landscape, it's inspiring. And around the early 80s, nature writers like Richard Mabey and others rediscovered the parish through all kinds of other writers who understood this intuitively, thinking of the natural history of Selborne and other hyper-local studies of natural landscape. And they grew up a charity called Common Ground that some of you might remember or have been involved in even. I think it's in abeyance now. But part of that project was what they called the Parish Maps project in the 1990s. It's well worth checking that out for the kind of work you're engaged in, because this commissioned, it wasn't churches behind it, but it linked into this idea of the parish as an ecological community, an imaginative community, and encouraged communities to depict their neighbourhood in unusual ways, artistically, as a way of thinking differently about how it might be in the future. I commend that project to you. Mapping is a work of imagination. The late great geographer Doreen Massey, she died about 5 years ago, wrote that places might be otherwise. So much of our political discourse about place at the moment is unbearably nostalgic and rooted in this impossible past. Places might be otherwise. We must be, I say we, Christians and all right-thinking people must, I think, be nostalgic for the future. We must create lost villages of the future, lost villages, lost rivers of the future. We must be thinking, what is the place coming towards us? And how do we prepare for it? This is, in Christian terminology, called the kingdom of heaven. And churches are rehearsal spaces for the kingdom of heaven, I put it to you. Doreen Massey also wrote that in maps as I want to imagine them, you might drop off the edge of your known world. Is that a great phrase? In maps as I want to imagine them, you might drop off the edge of the known world. So how can you rehearse space differently here? This is the insight of what became known as psychogeography, that the way we walk, the way we shop, the way we drive, where we go, makes the place. Every day we make the place. The place isn't just an inheritance. It is different, friends, because you arrived here this evening and weren't somewhere else. We know that place is formed by thousands, millions of micro decisions and things that happen to us that shape the community around us. It is not politically neutral. It is not environmentally neutral. It's not theologically neutral. The desire lines of our lives, Consumerism shapes place. It has changed the world through a particular philosophy of what you do about transactional relationships. It can be shaped in other ways too, and we shape it every day. When I moved into our South East London parish, I was told there are estates that the police won't go down, there are roads you won't travel down, and immediately I thought, well, that's exactly where I want to go. That's the road for me. Let's walk that way. Not just for being obtuse, but because actually, if we walk, the way we walk shapes the place. I've made the point. So, it's true of nations as well. England is not only one thing. We can make the England we hope for by making the Cotton or the Clifton or the Bristol we hope for. Nations are only an extrapolation of local life. They're an imagined thing that grow from a local centre. Nationalism works inwards. It says this is what a nation is, and then you must conform to that at the local. True nationhood grows from what we do here at the human level. I'm coming into land, by the way. Great American sociologist in the 70s called Irving Goffman said that communities, he made studies of micro-level interactions by how close is too close. Paul will know when that's too close. By the way in which the spaces between us, when we queue up bus stops, how we move with one another, whether you can talk to somebody on the train or not. We know that there are levels of social agreement that we conform by. And he said that there's only two times in life when you can change your neighbourhood by the way in which you move: times of crisis and times of festival. Isn't that interesting? Times of crisis and times of festival. Think about it, the lockdown, crisis, neighbourhood WhatsApp groups formed, prescription delivery changed. We suddenly heard the birds and tried to work out what they were and what the local flowers were. We were dislocated and we were relocated all at the same time. Festival, think about a Jubilee street party. You put trestles down the middle of your road at any other time, people will think you're crackers. But you've got permission to do so because it's Jubilee. It's not abnormal to do that. It's festival. Extreme weather, crisis. It snows, you can talk to your neighbour. Look at this. That's just part of the social rules, isn't it? If it snows, you can talk. The church's job is to act like it was always snowing. Churches are always in crisis, let me tell you, and we can't budge for festivals every day. And we inhabit that territory. I say we again, speaking from within the church, in a church. And I encourage you in your Eco Arts Hub to act as if it was always snowing, as if you were neighbours. To David's point earlier, that question, or it's Paul's point, who is my neighbour? A neighbour is something you decide to be by acting a little bit weirdly in public, by acting in a neighbourly way. I need to land. Where I am now in rural Wiltshire, I continue to look at the landscape for clues as to how communities might live healthily and soulfully. Not far from us, and it was spoken about on Radio 4 this evening actually, is the Savernake Forest, which has some of our most ancient trees, ancient oaks, and among them is reputedly England's oldest, although there are other contenders, called the Big Belly Oak. It's an amazing thing. It lives inches, it survives inches away from the thundering lorries along the A360. And it's hollow, it's like a chapel, and its spray of green in spring is a minor miracle. After 1100 years, it is still alive. And I use that as an image of the local church, partly because the tree is a host to thousands of other species apart from itself. partly because we found out that ancient trees connect with each other beneath the soil. They help each other, actually. They can even provide nutrients for one another and treat one another. They are neighbourly. The idea of a self-sufficient, independent tree is increasingly seen to be a myth. Same is true of communities, people, churches. This is what I shall finish with. It's a song called Big Belly Oak. Belly oak, through spice-toned leaves I approach. Sunday sun bleeds behind you, bound and at bay. Maybe restraining you away. Last drops of chlorophyll fall in your dark room. I'm prone, entombed, Jonah inside Big Belly Oak. Holy, you hollow in old age. Others have fallen, but not you who still rage. Snarling at juggernauts as cars swerve rush hour, dear cadavers. Teach me to be reborn like you, defiantly green. Big Belly Oak, I drive out to find when I can't cope, called by the Savanac and history's race, chasing your quarry through the trees. See more ghost Tudor wolfhounds, anciently, latently, ancient tree. Pray for me, Big Belly Oak, belly, Big Belly Oak, belly, Big Belly Oak, belly oak. Thank you for listening. God bless your project. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. That was everything we were hoping it would be and more. A real pleasure to have you. When we were putting this together, we thought we couldn't really have an evening on the parish without hearing from at least one person living in the parish. So Hannah at the back, I'm not sure if volunteered is the right word, but said yes when we asked her, just to say a couple of words about living here and her response to the talk this evening. Hannah.
Hello, it's lovely to be here. I'm a relative newcomer to St Paul's. Oh, is this not on? Can you hear me now? Yeah? Yeah? No, I was just saying I'm a newcomer to St Paul's really. I started coming in about November. One of my flatmates recommended it because I said to her I didn't really have a community. And I'm very glad I listened. Yeah, it's fantastic. I really love this project. I study environmental science in Sheffield, and it's really important to me to make activism more accessible. I think art is a fantastic medium to do that through. It speaks to so many people on so many levels, and it's really amazing to see that a community can be brought together through a project like this. Yeah, I really love what Paul was saying about how a community is not just the people in it, but also the environment and the ecology, plants, the animals. I think that's fantastic. I'm down here on a placement doing ecology and I love it, but you learn so much more about the natural world. Big-bellied oak is something that I would probably go in a field with an endoscope, stick a camera in and have a look for bats. And it's really amazing what can be found in your community. And I really hope that this project brings together something amazing, because I really think it will. I live in one of the hard-to-heat flats that David was talking about, but it's so amazing to come here and feel the warmth of a community all together. Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Thanks very much, Hannah. So we have time for maybe just one or two questions or comments for Andrew or other speakers, but I think our time is probably best spent mingling, and we have plenty of wine and some bread and some cheese and some crisps, so please do stay afterwards and join us. But just to give an opportunity for any responses, yeah, 2 or 3 people.
Hi, I just was fascinated by the Andrew's talk about mapping. So I love mapping, a bit of a mapping nerd. A lot of people here might know about this, but there's something called Know Your Place, which is a mapping tool from Bristol City Council, set up quite a long time ago by someone called Pete Insall, who's a sort of heritage environmental specialist, and you could lose many hours of happy hours going down rabbit holes with all the different historic layers and the current layers. I found out about the Jewish diaspora and Jacob's Wells Jewish community many centuries ago in Bristol, so I'd recommend that. But also, can I plug for something that's actually in our community? Pete is doing a talk. I just spotted this today at Redland Library. I think it's the end of March. So if you're into mapping and all the community mapping, that would be a great talk to go to. Also, I just want to ask about Gospel Oaks. I've always been fascinated by Gospel Oaks. Very quick question, I promise. I won't hog all the space. I went on a Franciscan retreat in Dorset. I'm just trying to think where it was. Near Dorchester, there's a Franciscan monastic community, and they have a Gospel Oak in their grounds. And I'd love to understand a bit more about how that works as a boundary and why it's called Gospel Oak. Is that okay?
We probably have the ideal person to answer that.
Yeah, I don't know as much as I ought to about gospel. I've got one here, if you can hear me. Actually, no, the microphone's come on. Oh, it's down here. Hello. My recollection, I think, David might know more than me, or others might, but I have always believed that is associated with the reading of the gospel outside during the annual perambulation at Rogation Tide. But I may be wrong. So you can hear I'm not entirely sure about that. But the Gospel Oaks are the named trees, probably also coinciding with the other landscape sort of festivals like Lammastide and Plough Sunday, where services were held outside to bless the land, and the gospel would be read. Does anybody else, Paul, do you know? He would be the perfect person for that. Yeah, there is. There's a, yeah.
And lots of pubs.
Yes. That takes me back to my, that'll send me back to the books, actually, to find out more about it. Thank you. Sorry. Any other comments or questions before we...
Hi, I'm fairly new to the church here at St Paul's and to Bristol itself. I lived a long time up in the northeast of England. I didn't really know what I was expecting tonight, but if there's any way I can help, or if there's any ideas that you think might be able to help as part of the community, that would be really helpful. I will take your advice, and anything I can do to help, it would be, I'll be happy to do it.
Fantastic. And that actually leads us on very nicely to sort of thinking about next steps. So we'll finish the formal part of the evening. Paul's got a couple of things to say about where we're hoping to go next with this. And then we really do invite you all to stay for some wine and some cheese and ongoing conversation about this. But a big thank you to all of our speakers, and this is what we're doing next.
It's interesting, isn't it? We all want to be involved in life sharing and sharing a community together. And I've got 5 things going on here connected to this project that are sort of, some I'm co-opting into claiming it. So for example, every Wednesday lunchtime there is a music concert here at 1:15, and you're all very welcome. That happened before this ever came about, but I wanted just to big it up. How lovely to be involved with that. We have an eco gathering once a month. The next one is on March the 15th at 5 o'clock. That's a Sunday. And anyone who wants to be involved in this more, you're very, very welcome to join in. And we are doing this together, and it's an act of co-creation as we go. So it requires us to be involved to do it. There's not a mastermind here. We are all collectively involved, and even working with different churches in the local area as well. So that's exciting. I've noticed this thing coming around on the screen called Biblical Women Aging Disgracefully, with an artist called Sarah Lightman, which will be exhibited here and at Cottam. And I'm just going to say, there's art, isn't it? And I don't quite know what these women are aging disgracefully about, but I'm looking forward to learning that. And then on the 19th of April, that's a bit of a way away now, there's a remarkable thing going to happen. That's a Sunday as well, where we're going to go on a deep time walk. This is a 4.6 kilometre walk, Sunday afternoon, starting at 2 o'clock, where we're going to walk back through 4.6 billion years of history, led by a geologist who is going to take us collectively on this 4.6 kilometre walk. That'll take 2 or 3 hours, and we're going to go back in time to the beginning of the planet, and we're going to walk together. So I'm sure we'll announce that more. That's 19th of April though. And then again on the screen I noticed a music marathon 2nd of May, which is, I know, a big commitment in this church to be together making music. And I just wanted to add those things in to say making music is a very big part of St. Paul's life anyway. So we're adding to this art journey as we go. So that was Wednesday lunchtime communities, eco gathering the 15th of March, biblical women being terrible it seems, and then a walk through time and a music marathon. So these are some of the things we're already starting to do, but as we all gather more there will be more, I'm sure, and we might even get more organised as this thing takes its own life. So shall I hand back to David? And who's going to say that I know there is juice as well as wine for those who are not feeling wine.
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. It's been so stimulating in so many ways. And Hannah, I felt when Hannah was just slipped out. I felt when Hannah was speaking, it was as if she was giving her benediction to us and this project. So wonderful. That connection of life, the hidden work that the trees get up to, that's what we're about. So let's be about it. Let's be about it over some cheese and wine and juice. Enjoy each other's company. Enjoy this space, and enjoy chatting and chewing over all that we've already feasted on together. Hannah, I was just saying as I was winding up that your words were like a kind of benediction for this project. So thank you so much. We feel commissioned. So I think all that it remains to say is watch this space and be part of it.